Mhm. Mhm. Okay.
You just have to make sure to hit play.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. Oh, there. Oh,
Oh,
at the
It's okay.
stage.
we are live, folks. We are live. Anyway,
We are
welcome
live.
everybody. He's just
Okay.
sorting out
Good
the
morning.
internet.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Club Carnivore. And get your dancing shoes on. Get your comfy clothes on. This is Miss Laughlap coming from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And here is what you all have been waiting for. Let's see. Yeah, thank you so much for your patience as I figured this out. Okay, we're gonna abandon that and welcome to the show. We have we have the beautiful JC Calamity
Oh,
in
thank
the room today, and we also have a several guests in the house. And I'm so excited to learn more about JC Calamity. She's also going to do something really cool, and she's going to demonstrate a Zumba uh, session with us. How you doing? What's happening with you, JC?
Not a whole lot, just a kind of a semi-normal, and I think you still have the song up, so I don't know if you want to update, change out the Hey Debbie Sue, if you want to change out the what's appearing right now.
Yeah,
So I think right now
yeah.
we
There we
have
go.
the
There we go.
yeah, and if you want to just move the song out of the way,
There
yeah,
we go.
perfect. Yeah, there you
There we
go,
go.
perfect.
Thank you.
Perfection. Oh, no worries. So yeah, no, it's normal, kind of a normal Sunday for me. I did start leave from work, and so it's kind of a little bit more relaxed, but I still got things to do. So went shopping. The spouse he's about to he think he's already started put some meat on the pellet grill. So speaking of club, we're having our own club carnivore here at the house, but we usually do a big cook, when meats are on sale, we just kind of collect them, and then eventually there'll be a weekend that we cook everything, and we know we use that throughout the year. And so we did that, and then unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, I mean weather is weather, but we are going to have a bit of a cold spell. It's going to get, I think, 26 Fahrenheit, and I think that's negative 3 degrees Celsius. And so that's tonight. Luckily, it's only going to be one night, but it's, I still sort of, I batten down the hatches, like make sure all the pipes are winterized, and make sure there's nothing hooked up to the, water hoses are unhooked and all the things, and that the chickens and stuff are pretty settled. So that's been my Sunday. So that's kind of what's been going on and everything. I didn't know if we want to say hi to our friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. What did you put in on the
The grill,
barbecue?
we
The grill.
have we and I know there's people who are not eaters of pork, but we do have, I love ribs. Then we have a pork shoulder. Then we have turkey, and then I picked up some is it ribeye? Did I pick up some ribeye? We might put that on, or more than likely we'll do the ribeye on the cast iron. So that's kind of what we have on the agenda. And then I also got some shrimp while I was there. So we get we touch. I'm without lamb and goat at this point. So I probably should have said what we're not putting on the putting on. So, but yeah. But I'll post. I'll make sure to, because I took some pictures last night of the seasoning, and then I'll certainly post. What it, after everything's cooked and everything. So I'll make sure to post to my channel.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I wish I was there. I could taste it. Is
It's
there?
good. I'm not ashamed to say that I married for my spouse's cooking abilities. So, so I'm not ashamed to say that.
So
So
he does the cooking then.
we both enjoy cooking. I tend to let him deal with all the, between. I've been blessed throughout my life that either I or, my father amazing cook, brother, amazing cook, husband, amazing cook. I know how to season. My mother knows how to season. My mother can dress a deer like nobody's business. She's, I joke with her. It's like, what did you eat? Because, she's from, the Chicago area. And I'm like, how do you know how to dress a deer and other animals so well? What were you doing up there in the 60s in Chicago? But, but she's really good at it. So, but we're from the East Texas area, so hunting is a thing that we've done all our lives, and so we know how to, whether it's you know any food type. I've been surrounded by people or myself have learned how to cook well. So and we know what seasoning is, and we know what smoking, how to smoke things for a long period of time, what the importance of that, and then of course we know how seasoning works. So we don't. It's very few occasions that we have sad food in the house, if that makes sense.
Sad food. That's
So
funny.
yeah. So it's been a good Sunday. Like I said, the sun is out, but it's a teaser because once you step out, it's cold. But it is a beautiful day sight wise. It's just a little toasty, but nothing a jacket can't cure.
Hmm. And so, how's Mark, Owen, and Alex and
Oh geez.
Stephanie?
Okay. All right, all the chickens. Oh, you gotten everyone's name down. You were good. So, the chickens are good. Just for those who are new, I have, I'll say I have 27 of age birds, and so mature birds, laying hens. I have 24 hens that are layers right now, and then three roosters that were born in April, so they are vibrant and viral at the same time, and so they are good. Mark did not attack me. Oh, Mark attacked me last night, so you're not going to see it. Well, he didn't attack me. It's somewhat my fault, but he
Mark
did peck
attacked
me.
you?
Well, he
Oh
pecked
my
me.
goodness.
He pecked me. So the alpha order is Owen. He's that beautiful one that everyone saw on my page. So there's Owen, and then there's Mark. He's probably second in command. And then there's Alex. Alex is who I called my reluctant rooster. So if you're new to my channel, you did not get to go through the journey of me trying to determine what Alex was, because when he was growing up, he had very hen-like tendencies, but then he eventually sort of decided, he was a rooster. So he was kind of the last one to kind of decide, hey, I'm a rooster. Hey, world. And so that's the order of dominance. And it's called a pecking order for a reason, because there is a lot of pecking involved for hens and for the rooster. And so Mark sometimes gets very, he tries to chase Alex out of the hen house, if you will. And so I decided the best way, and some of my homesteaders are on here, and they can let me know, they can let the chat know how best they handle their fun roosters, is what I'll call them. But what is recommended when you have a rooster that is just, I don't want to call it, because they are not. I have been around aggressive roosters. I would not call them these aggressive roosters. They just have personalities. You pick them up and you give them a hug. That's the best way to handle a chicken, is to pick them up and you give them a hug. So I decided to pick Mark up last night and give him a hug, and then he turned around and then he pecked my he pecked my hand. But I still love him. But Mark is good. Mark is Mark. And then Alex, like I said, they're all beautiful. And then Stephanie is getting her feathers back. Chickens go through a molting season. Usually it doesn't have to be the fall, winter, but typically it's going to be, as we leave September through December, you get chickens go into a molting period where they're basically it's mainly the hens. Roosters, I think, can do it, but it's mainly my hens. My roosters are, again, they were just born in April, so they wouldn't. Usually it's the second year that most of them go through a molt, chickens. And so, they basically, they lose their feathers. It can be intense. You can literally walk outside and then see a chicken, and it's like, should you be at the grocery store? Should you be in my chicken? Because you will walk out and just see a bare skinned hen. It's very sad. It's very
Oh,
it looks awful.
a
And you
little
just have to love.
alarming.
Yeah, you just have to love on them a little bit extra. Oh no, they're like Mark for the chicken. Oh, we're gonna do chicken and dumpling. If I ever go there, it's gonna be chicken and dumpling. You gotta honor with a wonderful meal. But um, so uh, so yeah, they go through this molting period where they're just they end. They're not laying eggs during this time, and because all that they're preserving all their nutrition, all that protein, all the they're have to rebuild their feathers, and so you just give them an extra protein. Protein's important for everyone, right? And so you just give them a lot of extra protein through their food and things like that. Sometimes I'll give them some mealworms, and then they grow the feathers back. It's really fascinating to watch the feathers come back in. It can be sensitive depending on where the feathers that they've lost are. That whole process of growing the feather back in, it can be a little bit sensitive to them. So you just have to love on them a little bit extra. Tell them they're beautiful, even though they look ready for the ready for the plate, but you do have to just give them extra love during this time. But yeah, they're doing good. The 4 babies that were born November, they were born between November 12th and the 11th through the 13th. They are at 4 weeks now, heading into week 5, and they're definitely showing themselves. I'm pretty confident I have a rooster in that bunch, as much as I needed them all to be hens. But I'm pretty confident there's a reason. And I'll deal with the what I need to do about having more roosters than hens, because you want to keep for a good balance, if you will, in the community. You want to keep a ratio between 1 rooster to every 10 hens. I'm like about, for my laying hens, I'm about 1 to 8, and it's not an impossible society, but it can get a bit intense. Like, again, I'll let y'all can, well, yeah, you can Google rooster habits safely, I believe. Just, use the right words, use the, poultry, put poultry in front of it. But, roosters have they have a very good life, is what I'll say in that respect. And they need lots of hens to, you know, let themselves be roosters, is what I'll say. They need as many hens as you can spare. So, so
They
because you
can
don't want,
handle
yeah, they can, you don't want any one hen over, and they do have their favorites, but you don't want them to, you don't want them to overburden the hens, is what I'll say. So,
because they
so
can do
yeah.
that.
They can, and they can cause. They even make aprons, like you can put on the hen, so that their backs don't get so scratch up. But they can get pretty intense. Let's see. So, yeah, I don't know what the question is. Yeah,
Would it be wise to invite Lizzo over for dinner with grocery prices so high?
yeah, I don't know.
So,
That's a question for Lizzo. She can afford it, but that would be a question for Lizzo, I think. So yeah.
so what's a typical day for you? So for everybody who's joined us, the lovely JC Calamity is going to be showing us a demonstration of Zumba.
Oh,
So that's something we'll be doing. But I did want
yeah,
to, and I'm really excited to do that. I've got my workout clothes on,
nice.
and but I did wanted to tell everybody, to let you all know that we have something in common. All three of us on
Yes.
stage here, we all have something in common. Um, do you want to touch on that, George? George,
Sure.
George, good
Oh yeah,
enough.
George. Yeah.
What do we all have in common that we know of?
You caught me completely by surprise here, Nikki. Unless it's a
Oh,
friendship with,
okay. You know what?
unless it's a friendship
Um,
with Joe, and I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Uh,
it starts with the D. Starts with a D. But we are all survivors, and we have
oh,
diabetes.
diabetes. Yes, sorry, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
should know that. Yeah,
except for
yeah.
George.
But we're yeah, we're in a slightly different camp because I was a type 2 diabetic, and I know that you're type 1, Nikki. So I don't know JC's history of diabetes, but yeah, I can confirm I was a type 2 diabetic.
Yeah.
Right. And so sorry, I thought you knew, but the
Oh,
JC Calamity is also type 1. And so
type one.
my
Oh, okay.
curiosity
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
what we all can learn from each other in spaces like this, because sometimes people, you know could really benefit from just being in community of, yay, what's it like for
Absolutely,
you,
yeah.
or what's
I
your
agree.
story?
I
And
totally agree. Yeah.
um, not that we need to identify ourselves as that, but it's just really nice to meet people. So I thank you so much for joining us. Um,
Oh yes,
did,
yeah.
do you want to say anything about that? Add on to that, or of your experience with type 1
Sure.
diabetes?
Yeah, I would love to talk about it. And I can't say when this transition. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 14. It's funny, my sister's here, and she was actually retelling the story of the day of my diagnosis and the kind of the lead up to the diagnosis. But I was diagnosed when I was 14 years old. So, everybody reflect on themselves at the age of, 14, and what that might be, what might that have looked like, knowing what we, even if it's, baseline about diabetes, right, in general, knowing what that might have been like. But I was at the prime of what it is to be a teenager. I ran track. I was, in the top of my class, all the things. And then it was one of those weeks in which things got weird. I don't even know that I remember the thirst aspect of it or anything like that. I feel like that might have been a symptom of, being overly thirsty, and then of course having to go to the bathroom, things like that. The symptom that I remember the most is that there were times I couldn't hold myself up, like my leg, like I remember like my calves and legs would get stiff, and I just couldn't really move. And then my two of my locker mates. So, in America, for those of you who are not in the US, we have lockers in the school. And so I had, my buddies, and I went to a very small school. And so the people I went to kindergarten with were the same people I graduated high school with. So, pretty, these are people I would have known all my life. Right. And so they had to my mother worked at the school. So they were able to kind of walk me over to my mom. And then basically at some point later that night, I had to be rushed to the emergency room because I had basically I was in full swing of ketoacidosis, which is severely high blood sugar. And so the blood, or my blood in the bloodstream had pretty much become acidic, or turning, boiling at that point, if you will. And so, prior to that, a couple days prior to that, the symptoms very much mimic the flu. And so the doctor was like, oh, we'll just treat for the flu, which is, give her food, give her, orange juice, 7 Up, whatever, all the things. And so I'm just compounding, this blood sugar is just compounding with things to increase. So eventually, again, I ended up going to the emergency room, where they were able to, I don't know if I can't say, and I never really asked if I was ever truly in, like, whether it was a chemically induced coma or whatever the case may be, or just the state of my body. But 4 days later, I was finally sort of aware of the world, talking with the doctors, doing all the things, and I would soon discover that, by the time I had gotten to the ER, my blood sugar, or my blood glucose, I need to be better about saying blood glucose and not sugar. My blood glucose reading was 1300. I mean, it was, normal blood sugar is, 70 to the 180. That's the in range, right? The normal. So well above that. God bless all the people involved. I won't give there are funny moments in this story that have been retold to me. And if we all meet up in heaven, I will ask for it to be replayed, because I would love to see it from, an observer's perspective, and not having one to have been the one to experience it. But my family has told me of the funny moments that led up to me going to the ER and then eventually recovering. So yeah, so at the age of 14, I get a diagnosis that I'm type 1 diabetic. Before I leave the hospital, I have to test and make sure that I can give myself insulin, things like that. And you practice on an orange, and then I'll kind of speed us up. I get through high school, get through college. I will say that I call myself, especially now that I'm in my 40s, I call myself a very blessed type 1 diabetic, because I didn't always manage this well. Either whether it was not eating the right foods. And again, it's not so much right or wrong, but maybe, not eating foods that were, um, where the diabetes could be managed well is not something I paid attention to. The physical activity was not something I was paying attention to. Eventually, that type 1 turned into where I did have resistance, and there was weight gain and things of that nature that had happened. And so there were times where I would have the beginnings of microvascular complications. So microvascular, think of things like in the eye, you know, the oh gosh, signs of like the retinopathy and things of that nature. But anytime I would get that sort of, oh, we need to watch this eye, I would make sure that I got my blood sugars, and I would kind of make sure that I was checking my blood glucose, and then I would reduce those symptoms. And then eventually, I would say probably 12 years ago, I got serious about my health. I went to Weight Watchers, lost the weight, did the things, got myself into a pretty good state of care with my type 1 diabetes management, where I was in a happy place with it. In 2016, I eventually got my insulin pump. I happened to do the Medtronic insulin pump system. There are other insulin pump systems. This also comes with even though it's covered up, it comes with the Guardian 4 sensor. I actually have a new sensor that I'm going to try soon. So that's exciting. And I will say, since I've had in 2016, once I got the insulin pump, that became a game changer in the management of my type 1. And then fast forward to July of this year, I started on Zepbound. It's a GLP-1, it's a tirzepatide. And the science behind all the GLP-1s, it sort of makes, as a type 1 diabetic, it very much makes sense, since the GLP-1 and the GIP that's within the Zepbound or the tirzepatide, the medications are supporting hormones and agents with insulin and with glucagon. And so my insulin sensitivity has been phenomenal. I've been able to I don't worry, like, if it's a food item under like 15 grams of carbs, I don't even bolus anymore. The level of management that this Zepbound has given, and probably the most shocking thing about using Zepbound to help support. Let me back up. The FDA has not approved Zepbound or GLP-1s for type 1, so I do need to put that disclaimer on there. I'm able to get it because of the BMI. But from July to present, I've been able to reduce my total daily insulin use by over 50%.
Wow.
Like, in a monetary example of this is, I usually get my 90-day supply of insulin. I usually get 7 vials. So from my order in September, I got 7 vials for that order. I still have 5 vials from that order in the fridge, and I just opened the 6th one a week ago.
Wow.
So
So
that's
how do you feel?
Yeah. How do I feel? Like, absolutely amazing. The amount of energy I have, the amount of, I don't have to, and I know, because Nikki, how long have you were recently diagnosed? Like within the last, 3 years or less than that?
Yeah, about 2.5 years. It's about 30
2.5 years.
months.
Do you use a pump, or do you use pens, or what do you use?
I use pens, and then I have
Pens.
the CGM here.
CGM. So, I mean, the line on my CGM, well, there are moments, trust me, there are moments, and we hopefully we get a chance to talk about that. But I mean, I'm in range 100% most days. I mean, again, there are days, especially when I have to change out my insulin and all like that, it kind of goes nuts. Or if I get overly excited, and if I eat pizza, if I don't eat a protein heavy carb, then of course it might spike. But how I feel, I can quite literally say, for the first time in my 30 plus years of being a type 1 diabetic, I don't think about my diabetes. I don't think about it anymore. I know it's there, but I don't think about it. I don't have to do a temporary bolus, or sorry, a temporary basal rate when I work out like before. And I've shared this with other people. I'll try to go through this one really quick. But before, how I would get to a workout in the morning, I would have to first, wake up, test my blood sugar, see where it was at. If it was in the 130s or 140s, I'd be fine. Because there's almost a 1-to-1 ratio between units of, your insulin, your glucose dropping based on the number of minutes that you're working out. So if I did a 15-minute walk, I could anticipate my blood glucose lowering by that same, 15 milligrams per deciliter. And so before, when I would wake up, I would just play this game of, is it in the right range? So if it was in the 130s, the 140s, I'd go ahead and do my workout. And then by the time I would do my 30-minute workout, it'd be in the low 100s, right? But then if I was 100 when I worked out, I'd have to make the decision, okay, do I want to do a temporary basal for 2 hours, get my get my glucose up just so that I could work out? Or do I want to eat something so I could get my glucose up so it could cover me through the workout? That was literally like the decision making involved just to work out in the morning was absolutely ridiculous. Since I've been on the Zepbound, it's stabilized.
Exactly.
I can do a 30. It's insane to me how stable it is. I can wake up at 112 or like 98, go do a 30-minute or a 50-minute Zumba, and it's at 16. It only goes to 116. And the fact that it even goes up and doesn't go down. I mean, I don't like the idea that I don't have to plan 2 hours ahead for a workout is insane to me.
That is insane to me. I can't wrap my head around that. Can you explain to everybody what exactly the science behind Zepbound?
I'll do my understanding of it, and there's some experts in the chat, so definitely correct me where I miss it. So Zepbound it has two. So the first ones that we kind of knew about was Ozempic and Wegovy, which is a semaglutide, which that's the true GLP-1. And so it's a peptide. Our bodies naturally have these, how about this? Our bodies naturally have these peptides in our bodies. And like I said, it's a long name. And Joe, if you can put like the name, the full name of a GIP and a GLP-1 in the chat, that'd be lovely. They naturally exist in our bodies, and they essentially aid insulin in doing the work it needs to do to get to our cells, to help with insulin sensitivity, to open up our cells so that our cells can break down the food. And the insulin is that lock and key system. So the insulin opens up our cells so that the energy, the food, all the things, protein, fat, all the things can get into our cells, and our cells can do the things they need to do. Well, my understanding is that what they've determined is with these GLP, GR1, and these peptides is, as part of that process, they are aiding in that delivery, that signaling. They're aiding in the signaling of, this person is about to eat. Let's get our insulin going. And then of course there's actions that the liver takes with like the stored sugar and all this other stuff. And I'm not explaining it the best way, but that is sort of my overall sort of understanding, that they're agents and aiding in sort of the pancreas and the liver doing all the things it needs to do to allow for the proper the proper functioning of how insulin works in the body ultimately. And so Joe's putting this up in here to help, basically it help, guide, it guides with what the, with what the insulin is doing in our body. And then tirzepatide, which is Zepbound and, which is Zepbound and Mounjaro, that has a second peptide in it, which is this GIP. which is, let's see if Joe put it in here, because I don't want to get the name. Yeah, so it's the glucose dependent insulin trophic polypeptide. So, and it mimics GIP, making it a dual antagonist. And so, again, how these help is that this is what tells us they aid in telling us we are full. So that's satiety. So or if our bodies and hormones were functioning normally, when I ate something, that natural sort of GIP that is in our bodies would eventually tell me I'm full, right? So that's one aspect of these drugs. The other aspect of this is that it allows us to the appetite part of this, so the suppression, the quieting of the food noise, things of that nature. Because before taking this drug, I would eat dinner, or I would eat breakfast, or I would eat lunch, and I would be satisfied with that meal, right? But then literally, as sometimes even as I'm finishing that dinner, right, I'm thinking about the next snack or the next meal. I'm not even hungry. I'm not even finished with the meal in front of me. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have popcorn an hour from now just because I want popcorn. You know what I mean? And it's not that I'm hungry for the popcorn. It's not that I need the popcorn. It's just this constant, it's just that not feeling satisfied or full. And you're already thinking about your next meal while you're literally in the middle of your current meal. Right. And so what these GLP-1s help with is that feeling of satisfaction, and then also just really understanding that food is fuel. Like I'm not always thinking about food. I'm not always this idea of hunger all the time. Like it's hard to say, because if you've never had that feeling of where you're always hungry, unless you've had like a hard work day or you just haven't eaten all day, right? Then that's an understandable feeling of hunger. But for those of us who have had to sort of get that feeling of hunger quieted, it's just this constant need to wonder where your next meal is coming from, for no other reason than that you want the food. Whether it's satisfying, filling you or not, you just want to be eating all the time. So, yeah. But
And do you
things
find
that are
that,
naturally, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know about you, but I know for myself, I know always had, I've had a history of just food addiction, right? And food things. But but the type 1 diabetes has compounded my, and I really work towards it, but I'm always thinking about food. Like it's like, when is the next food going to come, or how is that going to affect me? Like I've explained it to people, like it's having
Right.
4 toddlers having type 1 diabetes.
Right.
4 toddlers. Can you relate to that?
Yeah, I mean, you can't, because insulin is, or diabetes, or being a type 1, and having to, especially having to deal with lows or having to deal with highs, because, and well, let's just talk about lows for a second, right? Like a hypoglycemia, so low blood glucose, you turn into a raging monster in the middle of a low. Um, I know the times that I have a low, your body is just telling you to fix it, fix it, fix it. So even though you're supposed to do what is it, the 15, 15 and 15 rule, so 15 grams of some sort of sugar, not carb like a piece of bread, unless that's the only thing around, but you need that instant sugar or instant glucose, right? And so the goal is that you're supposed to, get some intake of sugar, wait 15 minutes, test again. So that's what your logical mind says, right? That's what your logical
Can you
mind tells
repeat
you
that,
that you're
please?
supposed to do. Yeah,
Can you
so
repeat
it's
that,
like,
please?
yes. So 15, kind of 15 and 15. So get something with 15 or more. You can do 15 to 20, but you want at minimum 15 grams of some sort of like instant sugar. So like honey, If you have, I don't have any with me. I wish I usually have samples to show people, but I do the glucose tabs or the glucose gel or the glucose. They have a glucose shot now, which is kind of fun. But those things will sort of, get your sugar up quick and fast. If you have hard candy, orange juice, if anybody remembers Still Magnolias when they had to get Shelby her orange juice because she was a brittle type 1 diabetic, which is a whole different type of diabetic. But you need instant sugar
Brittle.
quickly. Yeah, brittle diet, but those are the ones that they can't their blood it's hard to control their blood sugar. Yeah, they're type 1s, but it's like a more severe version of a type 1. So ideally that's what you do to treat a low. You wait, you take that 15 grams of sugar. Hopefully it's the fastest version of a sugar breakdown that you're taking, and then wait 15 minutes to test to see if you've elevated. That again is what you're supposed to do, right? But I know for my experience, when I get a low blood sugar, I become a ravenous creature of give me sugar now. So my go-to, like what my brain or what my body wants is I want Raisin Bran, which is probably the worst cereal on the planet. It's tastes good, but it's like so full of sugar. But that's almost I don't want to use right or wrong, but it's not the best choice because yes, while it might deal with the increase that you need immediately, you're going to pay for it 2 hours later when your blood glucose then shoots up. Then you go on the roller coaster. So this is what you were talking about, the toddler business, right? So if you don't do the patience of low blood glucose, then you're shooting up the other direction. You're getting a high. So your whole day becomes low, high. Then you have to treat the high. Then you bottom out and go low again. And so your whole day is this. And that does a number on your brain and body. I mean, it
Yeah.
really throws your brain and body off when you're in that state. And then don't let anybody try to talk to you if you're in a low blood sugar state because words are coming at you and and you're like, I
And
want to help you, right? Yeah, like, yeah, what is it? The peanut parents, everyone sounds like a robot.
yes.
You know, it's the weirdest state of being. And then again, yeah, your body just becomes just this ravenous creature. But then I've also noticed, and I've noticed it more since being on Zepbound, when I get highs, the cravings come back. So y'all could probably kind of talk more about, like, 'cause I think I've even jumped in sometimes, just the impact of sugar, complex sugar in the body. But I've noticed, like, if my blood sugar goes above 180 since I've been on this, that's when the cravings show up again.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
most fast. Again, I am not a part of any study. It is not currently FDA approved for type 1s. I've not Googled anywhere about sort of, when blood sugar is above or high, how cravings work. I've just noticed it that when my blood goes above 180 or in the 200s, then everything looks good to me and I want everything. And then once I get that back down under 180, they go away. Just
So,
again, my experience, I don't know what everyone else has felt.
so is that the same when you were without the Zepbound? Are you
I
seeing the
wouldn't
same
say it
things?
probably is, but I never noticed. You know what I mean? It's not something I noticed before. Now that I have this new, that I'm paying attention a little bit better to things, I notice it because I noticed it was coming back, especially early on. I was like, why am I craving something? Like it would be like day 2 after taking my shot, right? Which is usually, I'm not eating anything day. It's hard to eat stuff, right? And then, but I noticed the few times that it went above 180, yeah, there were a couple of moments that I was like, it's like, this is really interesting. And then when it's happened again, it's just something I've just started taking note of. So it's not to say it didn't happen before. I just didn't notice it before, if that makes sense. Because, it was not managed, it was not being managed as well. So yeah. But yeah, so I know that's a lot to say about type 1s and being on Zepbound and I can't say that that's the experience for everybody. The blessings that I've gotten out of this, and just kind of but what I will say is that that paying attention to my body a bit more since taking this, it's just kind of enlightened me a little bit more. And then of course now, because of as we are learning more about the impact of obesity and weight loss and all the things, and how insulin, whether it's insulin sensitivity, insulin resistance. I think I saw someone in here talk about and I always have to, I don't know why I always have to see this word to say it, the retatrutide, that has a third and so this is
It's
wild
a
to
hard
me.
one.
This is wild to me. So that has a third hormone in it, which is glucagon.
Okay.
And I don't know if I didn't know this before, I just ignored this before, but I'm sitting here thinking to myself of like, that's what they give type 1s or anyone taking insulin. I shouldn't say anyone, because everybody may not get the same meds. But for those taking insulin where there is a worry about low blood sugar, you get a nice little emergency kit, a little orange little emergency kit with a little bitty vial of glucagon in it. So here I am sitting on the hottest thing on the market, right? This glucagon that's going to make this retatrutide, this amazing weight loss drug. But I think what's fascinating to me is like, here I am, 30 years, a type 1 diabetic. You've been in a couple years. I've had family members that were type 2 diabetic, and so insulin and glucagon, all these words have been a part of my life. And now, because of some of these medications that are out there now, everybody's talking insulin. Everybody's talking glucagon. And it's like, who knew the pancreas and the liver would be, in 2020, in, the late 2020s, that the importance of the importance of pancreas and liver hormones would be the thing that potentially solves for how people live their lives and move around in their bodies. So
And there
it's just right. Go ahead.
and it's a huge keys to many diseases, not just diabetes, would you say?
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Like,
hormones let's be real. Hormones in general. Like anytime that again, my science people out there, anything. And I'm doing this because of the pituitary gland, but anything involving hormone, like the hormones are, whether they're the ones within, because we're just talking pancreas, right? But there's hormones being produced throughout the body, and anytime there's an imbalance in those, it's going to throw something off in our bodies. I mean, it's so important. But yeah, the way in which, because I have a friend who's not type 1 or type 2, but because of a surgery they had, it's almost, they're overproducing insulin. So they kind of have the opposite effect of diabetics. And so it's just sort of, these little organs in our body creating all this chaos for us and stuff. And so it's I don't know. I've just been reflecting on it of, yay, hey pancreas, you're finally getting your due in life. So just just interesting sort of a reality we're in today. So yeah.
for anybody who doesn't know what glucagon is, what would you say to them?
It's so the easiest way to explain glucagon, and I'm gonna do this just so that I can I kind of want to explain where it comes from, and I'll give you all the background, because it'll help make sense of sort of insulin as well. So essentially, you have so each organ will have alpha and beta cells that sort of help the organ do what it's regulated to do. So we've talked about the pancreas, and within the pancreas has alpha and beta cells. So the alpha cells for the pancreas is glucagon. So glucagon is what raises sugar, when glucose is low. So for people who are non-diabetic, your body is already doing this exchange. Like let's say it's a day that um, you're doing a lot of heavy work either outside or at your job, or it's an intense day and you haven't eaten, you haven't sustained yourself, whatever the case may be. You start feeling that lightheadedness, things of that nature. Well, if it's low, because it could be low blood pressure, but if it's low glucose, then your body will naturally release that glucagon to raise your blood
Blood
glucose
sugar.
up. Right. And
Right.
then the beta cells of the pancreas is insulin. And so for type 1s, whether, it's considered autoimmune, but something in our lives, and also I will say insulin dependent, because you can end up being insulin dependent because of the pancreas has to be removed due to injury, cancer, or something happened to the pancreas, damage, the steroid induced diabetes. Because of overuse of steroids, it can kill the pancreas or can kill the beta cells, so it doesn't produce insulin. So there could be different reasons why your pancreas is no longer producing insulin. For type 1, especially those young, something happens, and there is some science out there that some of this could be before birth. It just shows up whenever it shows up. Like you have kind of like a time clock, if you will, for when the beta cells stop working. It could be something, again, you're born with, and then there's just a clock on those beta cells. But ultimately, the beta cells stop producing. Something attacks them that they stop producing insulin. So, of course, insulin is what is used to lower blood glucose. And so for non-diabetics or those without resistance, though these things are happening already naturally, like something like when the moment your stomach sort of tells your brain it wants to eat, or the time of day, it's around that time of day that you typically eat and sustain yourself, your brain will sort of tell everything, let's get to work, let's get that insulin and glucose exchange happening. But again, for type 1 diabetics, that's not happening with us. So we're not, well, I shouldn't say that. I'm not saying our body doesn't, like, who are my mechanics in the room? It's not to say that something in our body doesn't try to start, but nothing's coming out. You know what I mean? The little to zero insulin is getting produced in our body, so nothing's coming out. And again, if you've had surgery or pancreatitis, and that's led to you having to some sort of damage to your kidney, then not kidney, sorry, your pancreas, then insulin is not going to function like is supposed to. So that's kind of the science behind insulin and the science behind glucagon. There's a really great book, I think, and I'll put it in here when we kind of turn the script. It's called Think Like a Pancreas. And again, and Joe can take care of it. Think Like a Pancreas. It's an amazing book. And it goes deeper into the science of sort of what's happening with diabetes. It talks about LADA, which is the latent adult, latent adult
Latent
diabetes.
onset diabetes.
Yes. Yep. And then there's several others, of course, the gestational diabetes. There's, again, like I said, steroid induced or because of surgery. And then they've even I wouldn't say discovered, but they've named a fifth one called they're just calling it type 5 diabetes, which is based on malnutrition. It's mainly seen in third world countries so far. I don't know if that's because they just haven't studied it like in the UK or in the US, but it's called type, and this was just this summer that they've been talking about this, but it's based on malnutrition as a child, that things just go out of whack, and it kind of has there's a balance between the two. It basically, it has symptoms of both type 1 and type 2, but it's based on it goes back to the importance of nutrition even as a child. So
Wow, that's new to me.
yeah,
That's new to me.
It's like I said, it's the same. When I saw it, I was like, oh, here we go. So but it's a really an amazing book, and I think it's good, for the community, that y'all, with the the carnivore and things like that. And I know we haven't even gotten to that yet, and so I apologize. And I know there's still some Zumba to happen, so we've been talking a lot type 1, but yeah, I mean it's it's new language that I have, is that, it's a disease I'm managing. Again, they're used to, I would love, Nikki, I would love to hear your story too on this, that, yeah, there was a time that, how do you navigate the world? It's a disease that if you don't manage it, there will be complications. And I think sometimes that's hard to, it can get very frustrating. It can get very depressing. I promise you, there are times that especially when I was either doing the shot or the pins, that you think you're doing everything right, and you wake up to a high, or you encounter a high and you got to deal with it. Your friends are doing whatever, and you got to deal with this high blood sugar reading that you can't get down for whatever reason. And you curse at it, whoever it is you want to curse at. Like, why do you have this, all this other stuff. And just, there are times you can get into a real depression about it's not even a why me, but it's like, why do I have to deal with this, right? But I think there was a moment in my, it's very exhausting. And there's a mental toll. I mean, there's truly a mental toll to this disease, because you're fighting, and I know, you're fighting all the possible complications. Like, my grandmother went blind with type 2.
Wow.
She's, they had amputate, yeah, they lived in a different time, and they had to deal with amputations.
Now you're I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can you hear George? Can everybody hear each other? Okay, you can hear me, but you can't hear her.
I can hear you, Nikki, but I can't hear JC. Yeah.
Okay, I can't. So maybe you hit mute or something, JC. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining. We're talking about type 1 diabetes. One of the topics that I'm obsessed about, because I have type 1 diabetes, just a baby diabetic, just about 30 months into it, so I know nothing. So I'm so grateful to be around somebody such as JC, because she's so knowledgeable. So thank you so much. And of course, George is a former type 2. So if you don't realize that type 2 is reversible, it's possible. It may not be for everybody, because there's definitely technique involved. I think you're back now, JC. Oh, no. No. But so there's definitely technique, both in type 2 and type 1. I've just been talking in chat there, Nikki. I had a spectacular success story myself, and I have had one very spectacular success story when a guy reached out to me for coaching. He didn't want to go full carnivore, so we worked out a whole food keto regime, including tomatoes and a few low carb veg, and he actually came out of very dangerously high diabetes, massively dangerously high diabetes, into pre-diabetes within 3 months, and then in 3 months' time after that, he was completely out of diabetes, and he just could not believe it, and nor could his doctors, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, type 2 is absolutely curable, I would say. It's not just possible to put it in remission. My nurse now tells me that after 3 perfect blood tests, she now considers me cured, and I don't, at the age of 60, I don't even have to go back for any of my annual blood tests anymore, because they don't consider me at risk. I'm no longer type 2 diabetic. I'm no longer on their danger list at the age of 60. Like I said earlier, I now actually weigh the same as I did on my 18th birthday. So I've lost 120 pounds, and I have very low HbA1c, very low triglycerides. I lost 10 inches off my waist. And all of this was against the advice of the doctors, who told me to take metformin and statins, and I threw away the prescriptions. So I don't have a lot of time for our wonderful docs, I'm afraid. But I do have time for our nurses, because it was a nurse who advised me to cut down the carbohydrates, not a doctor. So anyway, that's my very brief story. Hopefully JC is back now. Can you test your mic, Jane?
I think so. Testing.
There we go.
Hey.
Yes. Yay!
But then
So
I
we have
lost
a question.
Nikki's picture for some reason. I don't know why I lost. I see George, but I don't. But that's okay. Y'all can hear me though.
Okay, we can hear you. That's okay. We don't need to see me. We can see and hear you. I'm happy with that. What was I going to say? Oh, I'm sorry. We have a question here. Let's see. So to George and JC, question. So QQ from Simpson Johns 8777 says, I of course have heard of DM1 and 2, but not DM5. What do they consider type 3 and 4? Okay, I know type 3, but I don't know about 4.
Yeah, just a quick word on Simpson. She is Cynthia. I do know Cynthia, so Cynthia is her actual name. So yeah, hi Cynthia. Thanks for the question. And JC, do you want to go carry on with that?
Yeah, sure. What they're linking it to, so type in both of these terms are kind of unofficial, which I think it's funny that they call it unofficial, but then it's still being used. But 3 is for the impact, the sort of the appearance or the impact of diabetes on cognitive, so like dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that. And then type 4 is they're just indicating like age related. They're saying insulin resistance that is linked to the aging process, not necessarily weight, that there could be some insulin resistance that happens as we get older, even though that you may not have a weight issue. So
yeah, there is another one which I've heard for 3 is definitely the Alzheimer's, but I've heard 4 referred to under the PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, as well.
Right. Well, and that one, so I know PCOS in and of itself has 4 different stages and then or 4 different types, and then one of those can be linked to PCOS. And so, again, I think all of these are unofficial until whomever decides to actually give them.
They are. They're not. No doctor would acknowledge them, but they are creeping in. And the ladder, which you referred to earlier, latent adult diabetes, whatever. I think we have a person in our community called Paul Salvatierra.
Okay.
And he calls it 1.5 diabetes.
That's correct. Yeah, that's 1.5. Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. So,
that's
it's a strange subject. I think I when I talk about myself being a diabetic or former diabetic type 2, I feel like a bit of a fraud because type 2 diabetes doesn't really exist. It's reversible. It's self-inflicted, not deliberately, but it's basically it's because we were educated completely wrong, and we didn't know better. I mean, it's a bit like stabbing yourself with a knife because you don't know that knives are sharp. So that when you're eating all these carbohydrates, you are injuring yourself without even realizing it. And
I think I mean, I would agree in that. I think there's a so the self-induced part. I think for me that I think there's a stage can be set, right? There can be circumstances that are internal and circumstances, because you can have 2 people eating the same way, one develops type 2 and one doesn't, right? So it becomes sort of, for me, it all comes down there is still very much the I see bodies as just giant, and I say this with love, giant petri dishes. We're just chemicals and DNA and all the things, and there are inputs and outputs as a result of that, right? And so yes, 100%, depending on sort of what's already in there and then what inputs you put into that, but there's going to be a chemical, there's going to be a reaction, right? Something your body is going to react based on what sort of your structure is. And so I think how I have to do this without getting without having witness, and we can each share this, right? We can each share this sort of frustration, and if only this person in our lives had lived when we were willing to really talk about type 2 diabetes in a way that could do that. Well, the idea of reversal was the treatment, right? Like that's the first thing we try to do, right? And I know that has changed over time, But I can also understand the very sort of reality of a disease. And I can only talk about, I'll talk about the US and I'll talk about bring it just down to Texas, right? In that, you tell any middle-aged person they've got to change their entire life, or else, either the else has to be very real.
The why, absolutely, yeah.
The why, that why has to be very real, and it also has to be in a way that it can be taken in and not treated as a 360 of your life, even though it very much so needs to be a 360, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a mind thing, and it's happening at an age where you're already battling. And that's why I enjoy hearing you speak on it, because it's middle age is also the time that we sort of get very settled in our ways.
That's very
true.
The
way I do things is the right way.
Yeah.
So how do I do that, right?
Joe, sorry, JC, I was 56 and a half when I was diagnosed. I had to change my mindset drastically. It took me quite some time. It took me 18 months. I'm now a Kilts health coach, and I specialize, I like to think, in mindset changing.
Right.
How to get people to unlearn everything that they've learned, how to stop trusting the establishment, and how to start trusting themselves and their own research. I have my 4 pillars of what I call, of carnivore, so I'm carnivore. The first one is to have a strong why, because you really need, because to give up your macaroni, I had a discussion with one of my best friends yesterday about macaroni cheese, and she won't give it up for anybody. She's very fit and healthy. She actually rides 7 days a week. So she doesn't intend to give up her favorite macaroni cheese.
Right.
But so you've got to have a strong why. And I had a very strong why, as I've been explaining in the thing. Secondly is mindset, because we have to completely change our mindset to stop trusting. We have to learn that nobody is going to come and save us, that we are the captain of our own ship.
Right.
We have to think as 180 degrees away from what we've been taught. Basically, we've got to turn around everything that we've been taught by the establishment. But it's very difficult, because people of our age, we were brought up to trust our teachers, trust our doctors, to trust authority. But we can't anymore. And also, it's, we've actually got to convince people that they won't get bored. They won't get bored eating very limited foods, because basically the true limitation is when you're captured inside your own body, when you can't move, when you can't climb. I mean, we got our great friend Joe in there, and Joe will say that, it used to take people to put her out of a chair, but now she's up and dancing and she's out walking.
Right.
So that is liberty. That is not restriction. That is liberty. It's freedom. Right. And then the third thing is research. I mean, I can clearly see that people like you and Joe are massive amounts of research, because you're far more up on the actual physiological things than I am. And then finally, it is community, because basically community is where we share, where we learn from each other, where we encourage each other. But not only that, but we have fun. I mean, when I'm on with Joe, with our friend Joe Archer and yourself, isn't it just fun? Don't we have a laugh? It is.
I mean, yeah.
I came to the low carb lifestyle in order to heal myself from type 2 diabetes, but I'm staying on now and spending more and more time with my friends, because they're my friends and it's fun. That's the thing. It's not because I'm still trying to heal myself. I have done, but I just love hanging out with you guys. I really do, and I wouldn't swap it now for anything, to be perfectly honest with you. Which is why I organise meetups, and I've organised a Great British Meetup for next year, which it is Joe's intention in 6 months' time to be not only with us, but to be up on the dance floor with us as well, which I think is a very good. I
think it's a great goal, and I want to see it, and I think it's going to happen. So yeah. So exactly. I wouldn't put yourself as, when you described it as sort of, because it's type 2, and it's not to mentally switch mindset. Put yourself in a new environment, put yourself in a new community that you don't understand about, trusting the choices you're making for your body, listening to, all those things. And then finding medical, because, there's still a need as you come out of that to still be supported by a medical team. It takes work. I've been blessed that I've had a good medical team around me to support a holistic approach to live. I had a doctor straight up tell me, it's like, because I was, this is when I was in college, I was telling her about all the things I was doing. And she goes, "What's the point if you're dead?" I mean, she just blankly looked, she just stared me in the face and was like, "Great, but if you're dead, who cares about all these accolades, right?"
Exactly, yeah.
So it's, and that's why I sort of get back to, and I know, you can't go backwards, you can't have regrets, all the things, right? But is there frustration sometimes about, had the community been there in the 60s and stuff, and I'm not saying it wasn't, but widespread, that
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
My mentor and my now great friend is Dr. Kiltz, and we were talking the other day, and he said that sometimes when things go wrong in life, and you have tragedies, that sometimes great things can come of those. We were talking the other day. Well, I picked him up from Heathrow on Monday, and we spent the day together. And he's right, because basically, if I hadn't had type 2 diabetes, if my friends hadn't died around me, I wouldn't be here tonight.
Right.
I wouldn't be part of this community. I wouldn't be healthy again. And it's kind of, it's a weird thing to say, but the reason I'm here tonight is through tragedy.
Right.
And I think we've all found each other because we've all gone through some form of tragedy, which is what bonds us together, I think, so tightly, the fact that we've all had to suffer in order to get here.
Right.
So sometimes when life gives you a good kicking,
Yeah.
It will open a door to you which you weren't expecting.
Right.
And so that's what I'm saying. The point, I'm not being happy that we come through tragedy, but what I am saying is that sometimes when you are hopeless, when life appears to have nothing for you, that is the time when the doors can open for you. And
yeah.
I think, as I was saying earlier in the chat, I wake up with a gratitude attitude every morning now, because
100%. You have to.
So many of my friends will never see another sunrise because they've died. So my wife Lainey gets really annoyed with me with this, because the first song I listen to every morning is "Morning Has Broken" by Cat Stevens.
Oh, wow.
It's how I show gratitude to the new morning. And we've just got a wonderful lady called Barbara from Grandma's Crochet Corner, who has just launched herself into the music business with AI, and she has written what I think is going to be the theme tune to Healing Humanity. So I'm listening to that every morning as well. Wow. Yeah, Grandma's Crochet Corner, and go on there, and she's written a great song called "The Journey of a Carnivore Woman." It's her own journey, because she was bedbound, massively overweight and bedbound, and and now, but she's lost 120 pounds, and she's walking in her garden again, and these are songs of gratitude that she's writing. And I listen to these a lot as well, because
it's so important. And and I don't necessarily play a song. I have the same, I kind of have the same thought every morning. I say to myself, if the good Lord has chosen for me to be up and see the sun, then there's a purpose I have in that day. Now, granted, that purpose may be all I do is lay in bed with my cat, or the purpose is I go out there and force Mark the rooster to love me. That could be the simple purpose I have in that day, but there's a purpose, right? There's a blessing to be had, but will tragedy, it's that whole out of pressure comes a diamond, right? Even though the diamond is not the most precious jewel on the planet, but that's the phrase we use, right? But it's 100% important. Oh, there's one thing I did want to show y'all, if I can here. I did want to show you this. Oh, hopefully I don't break it. So for those, and some of you in the keto community, I think y'all do have a CGM, but what's kind of neat about a CGM, you definitely begin to sort of, let me show y'all. But I really don't know. I know you'll let Joe know where she landed in the in the carnivore sort of spectrum. I eat the foods, you know, if you know, I have a vegetable garden, I eat my vegetables. I do have like whole grain, but I tend to find whole grains that are going to have more fiber, or a good amount of fiber, versus just because I do the net carbs and stuff like that. So net carbs, you know, my understanding, and again, I know y'all talk about them here, is, you know, total carbs minus fiber minus sugar alcohols. But I do try to tend to do my barleys, you know, things. Barley is a very happy grain for me. And then I do, when I make pizza dough, I tend to do either whole wheat or semolina flour or doppio flour, which has higher amounts of protein than it does. What do I want to say here? Then it has higher amounts of protein and high amounts of fiber. But I don't know if y'all can see it. I know it's going to time out, but this shows me kind of my 30-day average of how much insulin I'm taking. So like I said, 6 or 7 months ago, my total daily dose was about 47 units of insulin. And I would say in June, prior to starting on my GLP-1, I was doing about anywhere from 88 to 100 units of insulin. But what's even more interesting than that is I was probably my carb intake, because I have to report my carbs for this pump to work. So I'm probably doing this is a 30-day average. And so on average in the last 30 days, it's probably 88 grams of carbs a day is about how many carbs I might get. And that can be from vegetables, that can be from, you know, so.
I mean, that's definitely the low carb range, because, you know, I'm not one of these people who says, oh, you've got to have 0 carbs all the time. You know, basically 130 grams or fewer is probably, you're putting yourself into therapeutic carbohydrate restriction at that stage. Because I think the average, I mean, what they're recommending is about 300 plus a day. To get 65% of your nutrition from carbs will mean that you're at 300 plus. So yeah, I'm one of these people who believes that, you know, I'm not a strict carnivore. Well, I'm myself a strict carnivore, but I'm not. I don't look down on those people who want to, you know, include vegetables, some of the vegetables, because at the end of the day, 130 grams of carbs a day or lower puts yourself into therapeutic carbohydrate restriction. So yeah, if that works for you, that's absolutely brilliant. And
it's working so far. We'll see how far it works. But you know, so far it's working. Yeah. We'll see. And you know, like I said, that's an average. So some days look different than others and everything. But yeah, I tend, you know, like I said, I have the vegetable garden that we get a lot of things from, and we do the potatoes, we do, you know, greens, we do a lot of greens and corn, stuff like that, or sugar snap peas. I love my sugar snap peas and beans and things. And so, and then we do, you know, I do fruit. We buy a lot of fruit, which is good. So, but I do have to watch out. I do have to be careful, you know. I had some grapes the other day, and I didn't bolus for them, and it showed up. You know, I do have to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my friend who taught me about the ketogenic diet, he was a worker on a building site, and he said that his mother was really struggling with her blood sugar because she loved grapes, so she swapped out grapes for cherry tomatoes, and immediately her blood sugar. But she's still got they're about the same size, and pretty much the same effect, but she immediately managed to sort out her blood sugar by swapping out grapes for cherry tomatoes. So yeah, these are the lessons that we learn, really, aren't they? That's the thing. Right.
So I didn't know, because I know Nikki said this is usually, I didn't want to make sure time. Did y'all still want to do a Zumba? Like, did y'all really want to do
I'm going to have to jump off before too long, so I've got to get up very early tomorrow morning. But I'm just wondering where Nikki is, because we need to end the show, really. And
exactly.
I'm not in a position.
I can try to get a message to her to come back in. I don't know if anyone's gotten a message to her.
Well, why did she leave?
Well, I don't know that she's actually, because someone's still highlighting the chat. So unless that's
Nikki's actually back. I think she's going to be back.
Here she is. I see something circling.
Yeah, exactly. I think she probably just left us to it. I think what I'm going to have to do is go and jump off. If Nikki comes back, then you can go into the Zumba. Into the Zumba place.
Yeah, let me see if I can try to message her real quick. Because like I saw something circling, but Nikki, are you there?
No. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Nikki is here, but she's not Yeah, we can hear you, Nikki.
Oh, so look, that's me on the left. I've put
wonder why it's
myself
not
on
showing up.
stage and there's no video. But anyway, so you can hear me. That's great. So I can be a ghost that's doing Zumba. That would be great. You know, I'm
I-
there.
I've actually reached the time of the evening now, Nikki, where I've actually got to go and to get ready for work tomorrow morning. So I've got to be up very early. It's in a few hours' time. So I'm going to say good night. It's been a great pleasure working alongside you tonight, Calam. And well, we will. I'm sure we'll meet again in the future, in the not too distant future. So anyway, good night, everybody, and I probably will. I'll try and check out the Zumba on the record. So
You're good. You're good. You're good. We can chat more on time. I would love to deep dive even further and then have all my notes for diabetes, because I think I gave y'all the what can I recall in a moment discussion about diabetes, and y'all are well more deserving of a deeper discussion. So
lovely. Okay. Anyway, good night, everybody, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.
Thank you, George.
So let me see.
Okay. So there's me on the left. Hey, see? Can you see?
We still can't. We can hear you. So as long as we can hear you, you can be a good. I don't know, because Joe suggested try logging off and come back in, but you don't have to do that if everybody's. So it's up to you.
I think it's great to see you doing Zumba. That's great. My fear is if I end this stream, like she said, apparently she checked in with thank you so much.
Yeah, it can. So let me. I'll do. Really? Yeah, let me find a fun little video. I'll just do kind of like a fun one that I do, and then
okay, teacher,
we can do that. I'll try to do cues. I'll do my best to do some cues here.
Well, we can do this again sometime. So I'll just put you. This is so funny. I think it's kind of comical. There's me on the left. I'm accidentally ghosting you all. I don't know why my video isn't showing up.
Yeah, it's so interesting that it's like
it is.
But it is what it is. It's okay. So let me do a little dance. Okay, so I'll do kind of I don't want to do the Christmas one. I'll do a normal one. So Zumba is just all about having a good time. You know, there are steps, which I don't know that, think salsa, think, and I'm moving away. Hopefully y'all can still hear me. Think salsa, think, I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. And then I'll have to play my own music, or maybe not play music at all. Y'all just have to kind of work with me, because I don't want you to get a copyright strike. But Zumba is really just about, moving your hips, pretending to do salsa, and, just having a good time. So I will take you through some moves. We won't do a long one. Okay. And then I'll put some music on, because it is better when you can have. What's that?
So Joe says, will you move back towards the door so we can see your body movements? Excellent.
I am. Once I want to get the music going, and then
right.
I'll try to I'm trying to kind of find the right spot. We'll do like a few minutes. We won't be here forever.
Okay, Simpson John says, I'm ready to be Zumbaing. Yes, get your Zumba hips going and let's go. I'm with you vicariously. I'm ghosting you by accident. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I don't know how to get my you just that's never happened before.
Yeah, you're good. If there's one thing we know about YouTube is technology can sometimes not be our friend. So
yeah, it happens. It keeps
can
us
y'all
on our
hear
toes.
this music?
No.
Let's see.
Pump it up.
Can y'all hear? Can y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe a little bit louder.
Okay, hold
on. A little bit louder now. A little bit louder now.
This music is by, she's in my chat, The Boss Way. This music is by her.
That's her music? Really?
Yep,
The Boss Way.
This for me.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Okay, here we go.
I think I'd like to talk to her.
Oh. So just kind of start moving your hips. Get your hips grooving. So we just kind of do, you start off slow. Oh, I can't see my feet. You know, kind of do some, move your hips. I'm going to do this a couple of times. Okay. I'm going to do the salsa in. You just step out. Just a simple step. If you get your hips going, and you want to move. What I like to tell people when they do, pretend your legs start higher. You get your tummy involved. If you accentuate your hips. Here we go. There's a fun move. You just move across the room. Do little steps. And even here, you can just do a side step or a grapevine. Just move your hips. You just step it in front. Side step. Side step. And then move your leg. Stay on the same leg. And just move it forward and back. Side step. Side step. Side step. You can come in a clap. Okay. Okay. Front and back, same leg. Side step. Side step. Next other leg, front and back. Side step. Side step. And here, just move your legs, just do little quick steps to the left and right. And then just move your hips. Front and back. So nothing too crazy. Side step. Side step. Side step. There we go. There's a little bit of Zumba.
That was wonderful.
Get your energy going.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Thank you. It feels good.
Oh, of course.
So how long have you been doing Zumba?
Oh, well, I first got into it when I did Weight Watchers back in 2012 when I was first getting serious about losing weight and getting healthier in general, because it's not just about losing weight, just getting healthier. So around 2012, I joined Weight Watchers at the top of the year. I'm one of those people that joined Weight Watchers in January, and by March of that year, I knew I needed some activity, and a friend invited me to an in-person Zumba class. I initially was just going 3 days a week. I would do Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. They were 50-minute classes. They were really fun. It's, I do like group Zumba. And then by the next year, I had lost a little bit over 100 pounds at that point, and I was doing Zumba 4 to 5 times a week. I was going, Monday, Wednesday, sometimes Friday night, and Saturday, and then sometimes I would throw a Thursday in there if I wanted to. So that was kind of my routine back in the day, and then I ended up moving in 2014 to a different city and just had a different schedule. I was leaving the house about, 5:30 every morning, getting home about 6 or 6:30, and I didn't have the time for a whole lot of things. And, slowly and surely, every year since 2016, just gained anywhere from 10 to 12 pounds a year, and to, where I was in, like I said, July of this year. And that's when my doctor was like, we've got to do something about the weight there. And so, so that's when I ended up getting on. I was very reluctant to take a GLP-1. I was first offered to take Trulicity in August of 2022, and I was just said no every time. The next year, so that was my endocrinologist asked me in August of 22, and I said no. My primary asked me about a year later in 23. I said no. I think 24, my primary asked me again, and I said no. And then in July of this year, my primary asked me. He was like, because I was hitting, I was at 292, and my doctor was like, "Look, you're type 1. We've got to figure out the weight thing." And he's like, "The worst thing that will happen is you take it, you don't like it, you just stop taking it." So I started it and haven't looked back. So here I am. And it's changed my world, right? You know, between joining YouTube and knowing that I need to start focusing on my gardening and just all the inputs that I have, it's just one of those things that, you know, like I said, it's given me new perspective. So yeah,
It's fascinating, and I'm so grateful that we get to learn from you. And I'm just gonna drink this in, and when we talk again and you're on the show again, I would love to have you on here again as many times as you want, and just to really dive deep into your experience.
Yeah. I mean, just, yeah, as best as and I'll be a little bit more prepared on, like I said, the science stuff, but yeah, I would love to do this again and just kind of share and talk, especially type 1 or even just diabetes, and then just kind of, you know, and even your journey, you know, like I said, you know, just kind of, especially you getting it, you know, at a different part of your life, especially as an adult, you know, just the challenges that you've had to face and stuff, especially within the medical industry, just kind of dive and talk through things and understand what your options and choices are. So.
Yeah, you're just kind of cutting out there, so I didn't hear everything. But yeah, I will share more of my journey later for sure. You know, I originally diagnosed as type 2, and
That's
so
right.
that was pretty devastating being without insulin. Yeah, for 6 months, close to 6 months, and I wasted away to 84 pounds. I'm now 133. So that's
Wow.
with insulin. But yeah, yeah. Yeah, can you imagine not being without insulin? And this is what I want to know is how come I survived like almost 6 months without insulin? Why didn't I die?
Yeah.
Like you would be dead,
Yeah,
right? If you didn't have your insulin,
especially because had you gotten into the keto prior to the diagnosis or no? Did y'all lose me again?
immediately upon diagnosis, I became carnivore.
Got it.
I became
Okay. Yeah,
carnivore
I would.
immediately.
Yeah, it would be interesting for you to reflect on what 6 months prior looked like, because I'd be curious too. It's like, because I know like sometimes, you know, when I have to unhook this for, you know, to change out my insulin and stuff, and I forget to hook it back up like I did 3 days ago. I mean, my blood sugar spikes pretty quick. So yeah, I'd be curious to kind of if you've been able to reflect on what those 6 months, kind of how you were moving and shaking. It'd be interesting to hear. So.
Oh, I have pictures.
Yeah.
I wasn't moving and shaking very good. Yeah, it was it's interesting. I just want to know, like, what do other type 1s figure? Like, what the heck happened? Like,
Right.
how come I didn't die? Like,
Right.
how long do you think you would live without insulin? Seriously. What's your
Oh,
ballpark figure if you didn't have a stitch of insulin?
Well, at least I know I was rushed to the hospital at 1300, so I don't know that I would want to push it past that or actually ever experience that again. So, because I couldn't tell you what state of mind I was in at that
No.
point. So, so yeah.
No.
So let's just say I don't want to tempt the angels. How about that?
Right. So when you were 14, I know I'm so curious. So when you were in DKA, were you vomiting?
I don't like, I'll be honest with you, the last memory that I have is we knew we were going to go to the hospital. And I remember going to the bathroom and picking out, I had picked out the clothes I was going to wear. I was a big Notre Dame fan, so I had my Notre Dame sweater on. And then I went to go use the bathroom, and that was probably my last memory until there's moments in the hospital that I remember. Like I can remember when my sister and mom would come into the room, like I could feel their presence in the room, But true consciousness was 4 days after that. So, and that's when the doctor came in, and he was like, "Well, you're a much nicer person than when we met."
Oh,
It
really?
changes your brain.
Yeah. So
Being in ketoacidosis changes your brain, and I
right, it does.
apparently was a different human being.
Hmm.
So my sister
Wow.
said I was ice cold and passed out. I was not vomiting.
Is Dulcia your sister?
Yeah, she's my sister.
Dulcia 25?
Yeah.
Oh, well, hello. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you all. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so fascinated with your story. Yeah, I was the last time I was in DKA, that I nearly died. I was,
Oh, wow.
but yeah, I'm very they were pretty surprised that I actually lived too. So but yeah, I still, I just don't know why I didn't die. Like if I wasn't on insulin, unless I was just on unless I was creating just a bit more insulin or C-peptides at that time, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I'm
possible.
still doing my
I mean,
research.
it's possible. Yeah, it's possible you had just enough for what you needed, and then that's all. I mean, that's probably the biggest reality. You had what you needed, and the way I look at it is, she was a drunken sailor. The way to look at it is,
Oh,
I
yeah,
try not to get caught
yeah.
up in that. The best way to move forward is not to get too caught up in that question, right? I'm here. And because if I try to get too caught up in that question, and it can take you to a crazy space. And so the reality is just sort of, you're here and continue to sort of move forward. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it's the curiosity, right? Like,
oh, sure,
it's
sure.
so curious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And fascinating, really, how fat healed my brain. Like I literally have physical and mental evidence. It's so fascinating. So if I think we're good. I'm so glad that you joined us today. I mean, I've got some time if you want to hang out. That's great, but I want to respect your time. Everybody else too.
Yeah. Well,
I wish I could show my
I mean,
face, but
yeah, I think we're good. I do need to try to, speaking of food, I do need to try to grab something, because I've had about a protein bar and water, and then I've had some fruit, so I do want to kind of get a good meal in. But no, I think I would love to come, like I said, I would love to come back and do a bigger deep dive and kind of take this opportunity, to talk more and everything. Oh no, what Joe says, you're here because you're supposed to. Yeah.
Yeah,
I told that
it's just amazing. Like
ketones don't need insulin. Yeah, that's probably the case. I would agree with that too. Because aren't ketones technically just the byproduct?
So that's okay. No, that's okay. Well, ketones jump in when insulin's not there, right? And that's why they make you afraid of ketones, and because this is my understanding now. Anybody in my class, or correct me if I'm wrong. Target Prime Rib, he's my classmate. How you doing? He would know. But the ketones are coming in because they're trying to save you. They're going up when your insulin is down, right?
Yeah, I've always, again,
So,
not this. This may need to be a part two, but I
so
need to kind of listen to what y'all are sharing
yeah,
more. But keto, for me, ketos have always just been a byproduct. They've not, they're not a. I'm not going to use. They have a purpose and function, but they're not driving what insulin is doing. But again, like I said, my understanding of it has been that they're a byproduct of other things happening in your system.
Yeah.
Related to insulin, but not driving what insulin is doing. So.
Yeah, it's such a good question, and I welcome anybody who knows more about this. This is why next time we can have Dr. Nelson on here, and he can really dive into it. But my understanding the other day, I was really deep going into it on our coaching program. So we're learning about hyperinsulinemia and stuff like that, right? But my understanding would be that the logic would be that those ketones are jumping in because because like that's like that must have been what happening, because how did I live? I was hauled into the hospital puking. Well, I was in a coma. I had lost consciousness. I was found half naked by my friend because I was so hot. I do remember being so hot, and I was just puking. I could not stop puking, and I did not have any insulin. I was protesting my insulin. And unfortunately, that nearly killed me. But I was also I was protesting, and I was doing an experiment. But experiment gone very wrong. And I was in denial, right? It was my first year of diabetes, and I was in denial. Like, really, does this, what if I don't take this? And so I learned the hard way. So my blood sugar went up to a 40, which is near death's door. But I do believe, like, well, obviously, like, now that's a different time, because I was taking the insulin there, right? But in the initial 6 months, that's where I'm wondering, why didn't I, like, those ketones must have been so high that they were actually saving me. That's my hypothesis. I don't know. But yeah, it's a big topic. It's a big topic.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I think, right, and I think it's so the keto stuff is sort of this trading, is where is energy coming from? So like the ketogenic diet, and like sort of where energy is coming from instead of glucose, but the how insulin is functioning, because remember, insulin is opening it's not just, I should not use the word just. The primary thing insulin is doing is opening up your cells to receive energy, wherever that energy is coming from.
Right.
So it's not to say whether that's fat, whether that's glucose, insulin is just letting them in. And that's why there's a buildup in the blood when insulin is not functioning properly. The buildup in the blood happens because things cannot. So imagine imagine you trying to get the world's ocean through a straw. It's going to slow down and create a buildup, but because you're now dealing with what is the basic building blocks of sugar. Have you ever made caramel from scratch?
Yep. Yum.
Yeah. So
I used to work
what happens when you make caramel or candy from scratch, and you have sugar boiling at a high temperature. That's basically what's happening to your blood when stored energy cannot get into your cells. And what's happening on the inside of that cell is it's not getting the energy. Great analogy. So the cell is dying, and when the cell dies, the organ dies. So insulin is what unlocks the door to allow that, again, wherever the energy is coming from, whether that's fat, whether that's glucose, whatever, it needs to get to the cells so the cells can be fed. And if the cells aren't fed, the cells die, the organ dies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been my understanding of the process. Not to say that it's limited, not to say it's the only understanding, but that, again, in my experience, keto, so there's ketogenic, and then there's ketones, and how ketones are a byproduct of something. So it's a little bit different than sort of the ketogenic sort of theory of using fat for energy instead of glucose. But again, I'm not the expert on ketogenics.
Yeah, me neither. I appreciate the discussion.
I'm the expert of this here.
Yeah.
And that is where it stops. And that's only based on experience, not a scientific study. So
right. You're your own N equals 1. That's what we all say.
Correct. Correct.
Your N equals 1.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for your time. Is there anything else you want to add before we jump off here?
I want to thank the audience, whether you came in from my stream or from the Carnivore Club stream. I just want to thank you for listening to me. Thank you for listening to me ramble. Hopefully I stayed on track for the most part. And it's been fun. And, if you're interested to learn more, my channel has been displaying. Feel free to come over. And again, just thank you for the invite, Nikki. I know, I think you were in one of our behind the scenes when I found out you were a type 1, and we're few and far between in the YouTube street. So I think I may have expressed my joy a little bit too extremely to discover another type 1 that's focused on a health journey. So it's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you. And like I said, getting to know this community. And of course, I got to thank Joe and Hardreen as my moderators for, bringing this connection together. So I appreciate each and every one of you.
Thank you so much. Likewise. Thank you, Joe. And thank you everybody who stepped into the show today for adding your energy and your vibe. Remember to feel free to let us know where we can like and subscribe to your channel as well. So pop in your link there. And remember, we're here every Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Normally we go an hour, but you know what? I'm into going for a little bit longer too. Today we went an extra time, but that's okay because it was just feeling so good, right? Like I didn't want to quit.
Yeah. No, this is good. I do have to check on the chickens though. We're about to enter that winter, so I've got to make sure again, it's one night in low temperatures. I don't know why I'm being dramatic. So, but I do need to make sure. Really overly dramatic.
It's all for Mark.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just got to check on things. But no, this has been an absolute pleasure, and I appreciate you again having been on the show and everything. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. We'll see you all next Sunday. And remember to say hi to kiss and a hug to Mark, Stephanie, Alex, and Owen, and all the other lovely chickens, because I just love chickens. I love them. Thank you for bringing this smile to my face. We'll see you all next time.